Hello moviegoers, welcome to the Master Reviews. I'm your host, El Movie Master. Today I'm reviewing the latest James Bond 007 film, Spectre, starring Daniel Craig and Christoph Waltz. Before I get into the review, I want to mention that this specific review will be spoiler-free. I am not going to ruin anything, so don't worry, I'm only going to go into the plot and certain details, but I won't be ruining anything specific. If you do want to see a spoiler review, there will be another review right after this one, which will go into the certain aspects of the film that are more important. Now, I want to mention that I really liked Skyfall. Skyfall was an amazing film. I saw this film 4 times in the theater. I've never done that for any other movie, an exception probably of The Dark Knight, and I saw that one 3 times in theaters. But I saw Skyfall 4 times because I was so impressed by what Sam Mendes did with this film. It was amazing to watch. It went away from the James Bond formula. It was more authentic, and it still paid tribute to the classic James Bond films without being too specific into like paying homage. Like it just certain little details here and there. So, and I thought Javier Bardem did great as the villain, and I really liked the introduction of Naomi Harris as Moneypenny and Ben Whishaw as Q. And of course, Judi Dench played M. The movie was great. And of course, I also enjoyed the amazing Casino Royale, which was the introduction to Daniel Craig. And I think the underrated Quantum of Solace, because a lot of people dislike this movie. I don't. I think it's a great continuation from Casino Royale. Yes, the movie suffers from a lot of editing problems, and it is probably the shortest Bond film in the franchise, but it gets to the point. It goes from point A to point B perfectly fine. I like it. Most people do not, and I think it's one of the most underrated Bond films. But anyway, Spectre. I was super excited about this film when it was announced about 2 years ago. When I heard that Sam Mendes was returning and that Daniel Craig was helming James Bond again, I was like, yes, this is going to be, this and Star Wars are going to be the movies that I'm going to be super hyped for. And I was. So I saw it, and did this movie live up to the expectations? No, it did not. This movie was not bad, it was good. It was a good movie, but it has certain problems, which I will get into in a little bit. As for the plot of this film, this movie has James Bond going on a hunt for this crime syndicate, this secret organization known as Spectre. And his only lead is a ring, a specific ring that has the symbol of an octopus, which is Spectre. And we have Bond going from Tangier to Austria to Rome, all over the world, and it's really nice to look at, but it doesn't really lead to anything. It's just very loosely connecting things from the previous films in a very cheap way. It's nice to see that they're trying to connect the movies together, but they're connecting them in a way that it just doesn't work. And I can't really give you details without ruining why they did it wrong. But Daniel Craig does a great performance as Bond. You can tell he's more comfortable playing the role because he is kind of being comfortable in the sense that he is paying some kind of tribute to the older Bond actors before him. Specifically, I want to say Roger Moore, because he has a couple of gags, which I won't name them. He's more comfortable in the character, and I like that. That aspect I liked. We have new gadgets, which that's great. That's nothing wrong with that. However, I would say that there's probably too much winking and homage to the old Bond films, kind of to the point that you get drowned in them. And unlike Skyfall, where there was, the Aston Martin and, certain little things here and there from the previous Bond films, this one has a little too much. I think it pays homage to every single Bond film in the franchise. It doesn't go overboard to the point of Die Another Day, nothing like that, but it's a little too much for my taste. Because this is a franchise that has evolved over the years, and with Daniel Craig in the role of Bond, we've been introduced to a more grittier character who you can believe him as a spy. You can believe this guy can kill someone. And to have him playing the Bond that we've come to know from the previous films, from when Brosnan was in the helm and when Roger Moore was also in the helm of the character, it just doesn't fit because you have a different portrayal. And I'm not saying that this movie's completely camp. It isn't. It's actually very serious. It's just some things here and there that seem a little off. However, the movie has a great cinematography. It's not the same cinematographer from Skyfall, who was Roger Deakins, who made that movie look gorgeous. This one is, I forget his name. I think he's the guy who was responsible for the cinematography in Interstellar and the movie Her. And the movie looks great. Every single sequence looks marvelous. There's no complaints there. Naomi Harris as Moneypenny is wonderful once again. There's a couple of funny lines with her character. I liked Ray Fiennes as M. You can tell he's playing the character kind of similar to what Bernard Lee did with M in the old Bond films. And it's nice to see the old M's office again. We have the character of Bill Tanner again, played by Rory Kinnear. We have Ben Whishaw as Q, and it's great seeing Q again. And we get to see more of Q, more than we've ever seen, not since like License to Kill, which is nice. It was nice to see his character again, and there's a nice little banter between him and Bond. All those things are great. My only complaints are Christoph Waltz. Without ruining anything about the character, his introduction is marvelous. You get to see this great character, Franz Oberhauser. And it's just that, unlike Silva in the previous film, where his character was absent for a long chunk of the film, once his character gets introduced, his character feels menacing, and it's just so great throughout the rest of that film. Whereas in this one, he is introduced, and the introduction is amazing, but everything after that introduction just does not live up to the main presentation of Franz Oberhauser. And the organization of Spectre looks great. The first meeting looks amazing. Even the car chase scene through Rome is great, even though it has some certain problems which I won't mention because it would spoil the film. So it makes it sound like I didn't like this movie. I did. I love it. The price of admission just for the opening shot of this movie is worth paying it. Like I saw this movie twice. Once just to enjoy the movie because of the hype, and the second time just to kind of like figure out what was it that I wasn't too comfortable about this movie. And here's the thing. The beginning is amazing, and there's a one-track shot which I won't tell you exactly what happens, but it's just so nice to look at. I don't know how they pulled it off, but it just looks great. And there's a sequence involving a helicopter. Wow, I was blown away by that sequence. It was so well done. It's probably the best opening to a James Bond movie ever. I've seen every single 25 films in the franchise. 25 if you count. Never Say Never Again. 24 if you don't. But that opening shot was great. The title sequence by, I forget his name, Sam Smith, Writing as a Wall, I didn't like it. I didn't like the song. I think it works a little bit better with the title sequence, though it's a little weird. Without getting into too many details, it's probably the weakest title sequence I've ever seen in the franchise. But there's also a subplot in this movie which is very reminiscent of a movie that came out earlier this year, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This character, who goes by the name of C, he wants to eliminate the 00 program and have it be replaced by a surveillance system. And kind of having some connection to the whole Snowden, surveillance and drones and all that stuff. And yeah, that's nice, but it's kind of like what they did in Rogue Nation. And I'm not saying this movie copied that movie entirely, just in that aspect it felt similar. I don't think this is a bad movie. I just think it's probably Daniel Craig's weakest film. And keep in mind that I'm probably in the minority when it comes to Quantum of Solace. I liked Quantum. I don't think it's an amazing Bond movie, but I did enjoy it. So I would put Spectre as the weakest one of the Craig films, but I wouldn't put it as the weakest Bond film ever made. No way. I can name 5 Bond movies worse than this. A View to a Kill, Diamonds Are Forever, The Man with the Golden Gun, Die Another Day, The World Is Not Enough. All those are way weaker than Spectre. Spectre is a great film that you can enjoy. It is rather long. I think this movie could have been at least 15 to 20 minutes shorter, because there's some scenes that just drag for such a long time. However, I have to say that Dave Bautista in this film was great. When all the scenes that he was in were fun, were exciting. Sadly, he just says one word and that's it. I don't know if we will get to see him in a future film, but he was really cool in this movie. So, out of 5, I would give this movie a 3.2. It's not a terrible movie. No way is it terrible. It's good. It's not bad. Just keep in mind that it's nowhere near Skyfall at all. You know, it's just the weakest one of the Craig films, and you can tell this movie kind of like is foreshadowing to tell us that this may be the end for Daniel Craig. I don't know if it is. Supposedly he still has a contract for another film. I guess we'll see. But it does kind of close things pretty nicely. And there's just certain things that I wish were done differently. I think if this movie had probably someone else drafting the script, or perhaps rewriting certain aspects of the third act, it would have been a better movie. But anyway, this was my spoiler-free review of Spectre. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the film if you have already seen it. And also let me know, what do you think of Daniel Craig as Bond? Who would you want to see as James Bond? Personally, I would like to see Idris Elba. You know, I think Idris Elba would not be a bad Bond. If you've seen the show Luther, you would know what I mean by having Idris Elba playing 007. So, anyway guys, stay tuned for my next review, which will also be Spectre, but that will be full spoilers. So if you've not seen the movie, don't watch that review yet. But if you have, do check it out. So, until next time.